right, so today we are going to begin controlling Internet Explorer. So we have this file to download, mod.ietools.bas. So BAS is just, it's a Visual Basic module that's been exported. It's been taken out of the workbook. So it's just the module. You can export them and import them. We'll see how to import that here in just a minute. So the idea here then is to be able to automate interaction with a web server, even to the extent of being able to log into like a password-protected website. There are some deficiencies that the web query has. Well, actually, the new web query can do some login as well, but it's a little more complicated than what we're going to see here today. And what we're going to do today is going to be kind of general purpose to be able to manipulate password-protected sites, as well as be able to enter information into forms and click submit and then go find the data that we're after and to extract it and bring it in. So that's where we're headed. I'm going to open up a brand new workbook, and we will start from scratch. And then we'll go ahead and import that module. So we've downloaded mod.ietools.bas, and we're going to get ready to import that. I'll show you how to do that. So brand new blank workbook, Alt F11, and here I'm in book 1, and I'm going to choose File, Import File. Right here. Here's how I import that .bas file. So File, Import File. I'll go find that. I'm going to put it in my downloads, or maybe I put it on my documents. Here it is, mod.ietools.bas. And now in my book 1, if I look at my modules, I see I've got mod.ietools. We're going to look at some of these today, and we're going to use some of these today, but these are just some procedures that I've written to be able to make working with Internet Explorer a little bit easier. So I'm also going to insert a module, regular old module. And we'll call this login to LDS org. So step 1 is going to be to log into some place where you all have an account. You can do it at byu.edu, or do you want to do it at LDS.org? Let's do it at LDS.org. I've just been through that, and it will work pretty well. All right. So if I want to get to like my Word directory, I'm going to go to lds.org/directory. And when I do that, it's going to say, hold on a second, we got to know who you are. Got my username and password already put in here. Actually, let's see if I can log in, because after logging in the last class, I think my account's been disabled because I had several students using my credentials to log in instead of theirs, and that's kind of fishy when you got a bunch of computers logging in from different locations to your account. Let me see if it's relieved itself. No, I'm still locked out. I'm going to have to track that down somehow. Anyway, but we'll still be able to see the process of getting this information in there, and you should be able to log in with your credentials there as well. Okay, so here's where we're going. So let's go ahead and get started. So step 1 is going to be to add a reference. Add a reference to Microsoft Internet Tools. We do that by saying Tools, References, and then going and finding the thing. So Tools, References, and I'm going to scroll down until I find Microsoft Internet Tools, or Internet Control. Let's see what it is. Microsoft ABCD Microsoft Internet Controls. It's not enough to select it. I've got to click on the little checkbox. Make sure the checkbox is clicked. Select it, and I'll say OK, and that's Microsoft Internet Controls. Once I've added the reference to Microsoft Internet Controls, I should be able to say dim.ie as an Internet Explorer. Oh, do we have to use Internet Explorer? Can we use Chrome or Firefox or even Edge? Why Internet Explorer? Okay, we can do this with any browser that exposes its core functionality to the component object model. You ready for the list? Internet Explorer. That's it. The only one. When they released Edge, we thought, oh, there's no COM interface here, component object model interface, but it must be coming soon. It's not. So Internet Explorer is it for the approach that I'm teaching you right now. Most of what we're seeing today is going to be general for whatever other approach you might use. I've done a little bit of research to find out what's probably going to be next. And next, in case you're interested, even though we won't cover it in this class, is a project called Selenium. So Selenium is something you'll have to install, but it should let you control IE or Chrome or Firefox or Edge. I was going to say Safari, but I don't think Mac makes Safari available for Windows anymore. But it should let you control any of those browsers in a very similar way to what we're doing today. So there's an extra step involved because you have to create that, you have to install and then create that object. So instead of, you'll actually do a Selenium, it's called a web browser, I think is what they call it. But it's going to be very similar to what we're doing here. Okay.
What was that checkbox that you found?
So it's called Microsoft Internet Controls. So that's Tools, References. You'll have to scroll down to where it is alphabetically, but mine naturally from the top, Microsoft Internet Controls. That's what you're asking?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, yeah, without that, when you say dim IE as, Internet Explorer is not a choice. Okay, now, what does this statement do? What does this line do? When the processor interprets this line, what happens? Someone look at that and say, I can tell you just what's happening there. Say it. What we're trying to do, we're trying to get Internet Explorer open on this computer. How close does this get us to doing that? Pretty close or not very close at all? Not very close because why? What is it? It's just an object variable. So this is just, we're allocating enough memory to be able to hold another memory address somewhere, wherever this Internet Explorer object gets created. And so if I'm going to create it, what do? Set IE equal to, what's the new word, the next word? So what's the new word? New Internet Explorer. And that then will actually open up Internet Explorer and bind the IE variable onto that object. I'll then have methods and properties that I can work with to manipulate this program. Go ahead.
Can you, again, go over the difference between dimming and then setting as new, as opposed to just dimming a new Internet Explorer?
Oh, yeah. The other option would be, we could just say dim as a new Internet Explorer. And then this accomplishes both steps on one statement. So it allocates memory, and it says, oh, we're going to need new Internet Explorer, so it instantiates Internet Explorer, and it connects them together. The reason we're not doing this here is because every time we run this, we don't want to create a new instance of Internet Explorer. Later in class, we're going to say, well, look, just find one out there, and if there's already one, just connect onto that one. Don't open a new one, open a new one, open a new one. So we'd like to say, let's find one that's out there and connect onto it. And so this is just a step closer in that direction, which is why we're doing it in the two lines here. Go ahead.
My question is like, what's the difference between the new Internet Explorer and the Internet Explorer without the new one?
So this would all work exactly the same. You mean up here? Like if I just change this, this code would work exactly the same. So dim IE as object, I'm allocating enough memory to hold a reference to an object. The difference here is that IE can bind onto any kind of object, and more importantly, now if I say IE dot, I don't get any help in IntelliSense. But when I tell it, no, it's only allowed to bind onto an Internet Explorer object, now when I say IE dot, it goes, oh, it's an Internet Explorer object. I'll give you some help with what you're allowed to do with it. So that's why we're saying as an Internet Explorer. This is just getting us the object that's going to, the variable that's going to allow us to hook up to the variable, to the object.
Okay. My other question is like, why? So if you already declare one, you have to set it as a new Internet Explorer.
So the question is, if I declared this, why do I have to set it to a new Internet Explorer? Here's the difference. What this statement does, it only allocates memory. In my case, this is a 64-bit operating system. It's going to allocate 64 bits of memory. That is enough to say, somewhere in memory, there's an object that we're going to bind onto, and that's the address where it is. That's all this line does. It's allocate enough memory to keep a reference to no location in memory. This one actually opens up the Internet Explorer object. So let me go out. I'm going to put a stop right here, a breakpoint written in code. And you'll notice if I look down here in my taskbar, there's no Internet Explorer object open here. I'm going to run this, and you'll see it'll take a couple of seconds to run. It should hit that stop. But as I look down here, I still don't see Internet Explorer. It didn't pop it up here on my screen. And yet it really is open. So what's going on here? And the answer is, by default, this is true anytime I open another, well, I think anytime I open another application, it's going to open it invisible. Because here's the truth. You may not want your user to know that you're using Internet Explorer in the background to do stuff. Maybe find that you're getting information off the web somewhere and bringing it in, but they don't really want to know it's Internet Explorer. In fact, if they see Internet Explorer pop up, they might think less of you. And so you might just want to keep that hidden. Now, during development here, we're probably going to want to be able to see it and make sure that what we're doing is right. And so during debugging, we'll want to make that visible. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to open up my immediate window. Now my object is IE. I'll say dot. It's great. We've got all kinds of properties and methods for you to work with. One of them is called visible. And I'm going to set that equal to true. Okay, now just watch what happens. I'm going to execute this. So look at me. Don't look at you. I'm going to hit enter. Here's my finger coming down. Enter. And now that brings up Internet Explorer. Now you might be thinking, oh yeah, Internet Explorer is kind of slow. It's going to take a while to load the home page. Well, it's slower than I remember, but I guess it's going to load here eventually. It's not. When you open up Internet Explorer normally, it's going, oh yeah, I better open the home page. You've got some human looking at me. But when Internet Explorer gets opened through code, it goes, yeah, something weird just happened. Some non-human just opened me, and so I'm not going to do anything until they tell me what to do. So yeah, you've never seen Internet Explorer look like this, but it's just open and it's not trying to go anywhere. That's actually kind of nice. It doesn't try to load something that you're going to tell it to load something. So I'm going to take this line, I'm going to bring it into my code. So as soon as I open it, I'm going to go ahead and make it visible. That way I'll be able to see what's going on. Okay, so next step is actually get it to navigate somewhere. So let's see. So I'm going to do that right here. So there's a method, IE.navigate_to. Truth is, there's a navigate and a navigate to. I've tried them both. They both seem to do the trick. I'm not sure what the to means. It's like the second version of navigate, or they're saying navigate to this URL. I don't know. But this one works fine, so we're going to use it. So I'm going to give it a URL to go to, https://lds.org /directory. I'm going to tell it to navigate to that location. In fact, I'm going to bring this up here side by side so you can see it happen. So I'm going to go to that line, and I'll run. Now, I actually want you to watch. You're going to see this now start to navigate here, and it doesn't take very long to get to this page. But I want you to watch very carefully and be able to answer the question, which one happens first? Does the page show up first? Or does the breakpoint get to the stop first? The order in which this happens is going to be important to us. So I'm going to run it. You tell me which one happens first. Oh, yeah, that happened a lot slower than it used to. Okay. Which one happened first?
Breakpoint.
I got to the breakpoint first. What does that tell you about this method, navigate to? What's going on here? So someone describe to me what happens here. Go ahead.
Well, it issues an instruction to IE, and then it continues on.
That's right. It dispatches this instruction, calls this method, says, IE, go to this page. And as soon as IE has received that, VBA goes, I'm done. I told it where to go, and it moves on. Now, depending on all kinds of things, network, what's that server doing that we're trying to communicate with? What's the various segments of the network that how much load is there on the network? It might take a while for this page to come back. VBA didn't care about that. All we told it to do was tell IE to navigate to this location. So we're going to need a way to tell it slow down and wait until this page gets loaded. Because our next step here is to plug in a username, plug in a password, and click on the sign in. And if we try to do that before these objects are loaded on the page, it's going to fail. Well, this is why I've given you the Internet Explorer tool, or those that mod IE tools. So let me go ahead and go there. All right, so I'm going to mod IE tools, and let's just look at the first one that we have here. The very top one is called wait for. it's expecting IE as an Internet Explorer object. So I've got to send it an Internet Explorer object to wait for. Could I have two different instances of Internet Explorer open at the same time and be doing different things with them? Sure. Yeah, I could do that. And so I got to tell it which one I'm waiting on. So we have a loop within a loop that says, hey, listen, first thing you're going to do is you're going to wait for a second. So application.wait just says we're going to wait until this time comes along. When is it? Now, current time, plus 1 second. So that says wait for a second. We're then going to say we want to attach to IE. It turns out, depending on your settings for Internet Explorer, some different kinds of security settings, when you go from one zone to another, when you go from your intranet to an internet, IE might go, oh my gosh, we want to make sure that there's no possibility that someone's doing some kind of cross-site business here, and so we're going to actually open up a new instance of Internet Explorer to serve this new page. And so what can happen is the Internet Explorer that we're currently bound onto, I could still be bound onto it, but the page I've asked can be opened in another Internet Explorer. And so attach IE just says, it anticipates that might be a problem, and it says, look, just go through all my Internet Explorer objects and bind on to the most recently opened one. That's what this block of code does. It's more than I expect you to be able to bite off today, and so we're not going to go over this code. But that's just realize that's what it's saying. It's saying, listen, we might have spawned a new instance of IE, hook on to the most recently opened one. Do events, just in case we're in a loop, we want to be able to get out. We'll do events. And then we're going to check two properties of Internet Explorer, busy and ready state. So when it's not busy and the ready state is 4, that's when the page is home, it's loaded, we should be ready to, the page is here. It then is going to wait for 1 more second, and it's going to check again and make sure that we're still there. Because what can happen is that we can be looking at the Internet Explorer, and it can go, you know what, we're not busy, we're not waiting for anything, but it could be where it's just received the page, and now that page tells it to go somewhere else, to get redirected to another location. And so this is a fairly sophisticated way to look at it and say, yeah, I think we really are loaded here, and a second later we're still sitting here loaded. I think we're good, and it lets us out. Otherwise, it just continues in this loop, waits for a second and checks. No, we're not doing it. Waits for a second and checks. And then it will let us out when we're there. So I should be able to call wait for and tell it the object that I'm interested in waiting on. Wait for IE. And now that should handle it. I'll take a question here in just a second. So let me go here to google.com so you can see me navigate from one to the other. Now when I run this, I should send off the instruction to go to this URL, and then that page should come in and be fully loaded before I hit that stop. So you can see now the sequence has changed. Go ahead.
So wait is a method of the application, right?
Oh, application.wait, yes. So we'll go back and look at the code here. The question is about wait. Yeah. So that just pauses and says we're going to stay here until a second from now, and then we'll move on. All right. Well. All right. So our next task is to be able to see if we can understand something about the structure of this page and be able to get a reference to this object. So this input box over here in Internet Explorer, that's an object. And I want to be able to hook onto it so I can manipulate its properties and methods. I want to put my username right in there. So here's how we do it. So folks, if you're checking your email right now, now's a good time to stop and kind of focus because this next part is really important. So to get familiar with this, I'm going to right-click this. I'm going to right-click this somewhere on this page, and I want specifically on this input box, and I'm going to say Inspect Element. And that should somehow open up some other information about where's my page? I kind of expected to be able to see the page still. Anyway, here it is. This is the HTML tag that generates that particular login. Now, how many of you have never thought, I should look at the source of this page? How many of you have rarely looked at HTML source? Okay, so that's quite a few of you here. So a big part of what we're doing here is being able to get familiar enough with the structure of this page to be able to say, okay, I can figure out something about why this page is being rendered the way it is. And so as I look here, I've got an input tag. The value right now is blank, or when the page was sent, the value is blank. It has a name, ID token 1. It has an ID, ID token 1. And anytime I look for these, if I see that it's got an ID, I just breathe a sigh of relief and go, that's going to be really easy to find this tag. Not all tags have an ID. This div, there's no ID on this div. I can still get a reference to that, but it's a little more work. But this one has an ID, and so it's going to be really easy. Now, the trouble is, I'm not quite sure how to get back to my browser. It's like it's taken over. This is taking over my whole page. Okay, so F12 is toggling that for me. There we go. Okay. So my ID, and case is going to matter here, folks. So capital IDT token 1. So here's what I'm going to do. Over here, back in my immediate window, I'm going to get a reference to my ID object. Now, the IE is a reference to the whole Internet Explorer application, right? It has properties and methods, like visible. I could use visible to show or hide this thing. But now it also has a property called document. Now, document is a reference to the object that actually has that document rendered in the browser window. Go ahead.
Every time that Internet Explorer is instantiated through code, it opens up 2 tabs. So it'll go right to the LDS.org directory, but then it'll also pull up just a random homepage tab as well.
For you, you're getting 2 pages shown up?
Yep.
So I'm not sure why that is, but let's see if this code still works, even though that's happening. I think it will. I hope it will. We'll see. Okay, so IE.document gets us to that, the part of this browser that's actually rendering that page, it's showing that page. And unfortunately, that's where your IntelliSense help stops. I hit dot, and there's nothing else. So I'm going to teach you a few of the things here. There's a collection here called all. And this is the collection of all the tags on this page. And so I should be able to look at tag number, 45. And ask its tag name. Every tag has a tag name property. So if it's an anchor tag, it will be A. If it's an H3 tag, it will be H3. If it's a head tag, it will be head. Body tag, body. It's the kind of tag that it is. And so that is an LI tag, a line item inside either an ordered list or an unordered list. If I look at number 44, I can see, this is an unordered list. Let me just take a minute and see if I can find these tags inside the source of this page. I may go do it over here in Chrome. This is a little bit more friendly. Your question? Okay, so let me just look for UL as a tag. So here's an ordered list. And so an ordered list is like, this is an unordered list. And so this is like a bulleted list. And so there's different line items. So this is like the language from here. So Indonesia, I can pick Indonesian. There's a language in this? Oh yeah, sure enough. Right over here, English. I drop this down, what do I have? Indonesian, Danish, German, Spanish, Samoan. And if I look at this page, Indonesian, Danish, German, Spanish, Samoan, French, Italian. So this is the source that's generating this part of the page, this drop-down list. And so I should be able to look at this, say 45 again, and instead of asking for the tag name, I should be able to ask for the outer HTML. So this has gotten to this particular tag here. It's the Indonesian language choice, and it's showing me that whole tag. What's the next one after Indonesian? Danish. So if I look at 46, that should show me the choice for the Danish for Danish. So this is just a collection of all of the tags that are over here in the source. Each one of these tags is a different tag. Each one gets a different number. I can refer to them individually. Now, you'll notice that some tags can have other tags inside of them. So here's number 44, but here's number 43. This is a div. It starts here, and it ends right here. So if I was to ask for what that div, what the div's outer HTML is, it should bring back this whole block. So that was 44, 43. So here's that div. It has the UL and all the line items in it. So that's part of what we have to do to say, all right, I want to be able to interact with this web server. I've got to figure out the page that it sends back to be able to interact with the question.
It keeps throwing an error when I try and do the outer HTML or tag name.
Okay, so first, let's make sure that you've run. So you have your Internet Explorer connected up. So you're at a breakpoint down here. It's yellow.
Yep. And it's a runtime error. The remote serving machine does not exist or is unavailable.
Okay, so first question is IE.visible. See if you can print IE.visible. That'll let you know if you're connected onto the IE object. Or does that throw an error?
That throws an error as well.
So try this. Just try to IE.attach. I'm sorry, attach IE. And that should try to put back on the most recently opened instance of Internet Explorer. Once you've done that, try again to print IE.visible.
Okay, IE.visible works.
Okay, so now you should be able to do that under code as well. So what IE attach does, it says I've got this object variable. Just try to look through all my Internet Explorer objects, find the one that was most recently opened, and attach onto it. Okay. Where were we? Oh, okay. So now we are trying to get at the that item. So let's go back here. IE.document.all, and we were looking at like number 46, and we were showing outer HTML. Okay. So just as with collections in VBA, I can refer to the items in this collection either by their number or by their name or by their ID. So if the tag has a name or an ID, I can go directly to it without trying to figure out what number it is. And so I forgot what the ID was. It was like
ID token 1.
ID token 1. Thank you. So what I'm hoping is that will show me the input tag that we're using to get that, to get the username. It looks like that is ID token 1, so it found it. That's great. So now I should be able to, I'll do it right here in the immediate window first. I should be able to say, no, I don't want to see the outer HTML. I want to change the value property equal to my username. Okay, so this next part is the most dramatic part of the whole course. I don't mean just the whole lesson today, I mean the whole course. Of the whole entire course. What was it, 12? Okay. So I'm trying to execute this statement. I'm going to execute this statement right here that says I've got my Internet Explorer object hooked up to IE over here. I'm talking about the document. Look over all the controls in that document. Find the one called ID token 1. I'm going to manipulate the property. I want to change the property value. I want to change the value to gov. So when I execute this line, watch right here on LDS account username. That should put gov right there onto that page. Oh. It was the most dramatic part. It's downhill from here, folks. It's all right, so that's great news. I'm able to change what's going on inside this browser. So we're going to wait for IE, and then I'm going to execute that. It turns out the password is just ID token 2, I think. I'll put in my password. It isn't really my password value. But we'll see if the password goes in. So now we just got to figure out how to click that submit button. There's actually two ways that I can go about getting this information to get passed back to the server. in the early days of the World Wide Web, we didn't send information to the server. We got information from the server. In fact, the web was just, it was an interconnected set of servers that allowed us to say, oh, when I click on this link, it takes me to another location, a different document on a different server. And that's why it's called the web, right? This page can link to these 4 or 5 other pages. Each one of those pages can link to different ones. And so if you kind of map that out, it looks like a web. That's why it's called the World Wide Web. And so all we did was we said, give me this file, and it would send the file. Click on a link, give me this file, it would send the file, give me this file, send the file. And then someone said, you know what? It'd be really great if I could send some information back to the server. I don't just want to see this file, I want to tell it some information, let it do some work on it, and then give me a different page. And so to be able to do that, we invented the tag called form. So I'm going to come back over here and look at inspect element, or maybe just view source over here. Okay, so I'm looking right here at my ID token, and I'm just going to go up. I should be able to find a form tag somewhere in this hierarchy. Oh, there it is. So the idea here is we say, listen, I want to be able to send a package of information back to the server. And so I've got this form tag. It says, all right, starting right here, this form, and there'll be a slash form down here somewhere else. Slash form, everywhere between form and slash form. That's the package of information we're going to send back to the server. And in the very early days of this tag, that's all there was. There was some action here, and the action said, where are you going to send this information? And then somewhere down here, you've got a submit button. We'll look at the submit button here in just a bit. But if I can refer to the form object, I should be able to call it submit method. Because this form knows how to send information back to the server that it's hooked up to. It's going to send it back to, now, it doesn't say exactly what the URL is here. It's a relative URL. So it's going to send it back to ident.lds.org/SSO-UI login. That's the full path it's going to send it to. But if I can get a reference to this object, I should be in pretty good shape. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So I'll just copy this line here. Now, remember, I'm looking for either a name or an ID. If I have an ID on the tag, that's better because by definition, that ID is supposed to be unique across all elements on the page. There shouldn't be 2 elements on this page with the same ID. If there is, the creator has made a mistake. Someone, the creator of this page, has made a mistake. But not so the case with name. It's okay to have multiple objects with the same name. It's unusual, but it's possible. And so if there's only one object with this name, when I refer to it here, it's going to bring back that object. If there's more than one object with that same name, it's going to bring back an array or a collection that has all of them in it. So it can be a little bit weird, but let's just go ahead and see if we can refer to it by name. What was its name? The name is login. So I'm going to put that here. And let me take this into the immediate window to play with it for a second. And remember, every tag has a tag name property. So if I'm ever just curious, do I have a valid reference to that? I should be able to ask it what its tag name is. And I did not expect to see a div. Where's the right one?
You didn't capitalize L.
Oh, thank you. So apparently there's a div called login lowercase l. Oh, very good. But with capital L, there's one called form. All right, so I've got a reference to that object. And what I want to do is I want to call its submit method. I'm telling it form, we've given you all the information you need. We're ready to submit this form. In fact, I probably also want to do a wait for right after that as well. Okay. So when I run this line, hopefully we'll submit this form. Now, if that was really my password, you would see it log in here, and you'd go to my work directory. But it's not my password, so it should fail. But you should see it actually try to log in. So I'll execute that. And we can see it. Hey, username and password's not recognized. Please try again. But if you've put your real username and password in, that should take you right into your Word directory. Question?
So I know you can also submit with like a .click method.
We're going to do that as well.
Is there a benefit to either?
Yeah, we'll talk about that. Let's go. Okay, how many of you successfully got to your own Word directory? Well, looks like a few of you. How many are having some kind of error that you don't quite understand? Let's take a pause right here and see if we can help. Okay, so the question came up, what's the other way to do this? So one is to find the form and submit it. The other one is to find the button and click on it. So in more recent years, there's come up another way that we can send information back to the server. Instead of just saying, here's a form, send this form back, and just let the browser do what it does with that, is we said, you know what, we got some JavaScript, some ability to run a program right here in the browser, and we're going to have it send a separate request off to a server, and all we're doing with this form is we're collecting the information, but we're not going to have the form do the submitting. We're going to have some other process that runs in the browser do the submitting. In that case, the form may not know how to submit itself. You say submit, and I'll just go, I don't know what to do. I don't know. There's no place. I'm not configured to submit. You get an error. In that case, you have to find this button, and you have to click on the button, and then that button will know what to do. And whatever that button does when the human clicks on it, you're just telling it to click on that button. So let's take a look at that. In that case, I'm going to have to get the reference to this button, same way I've gotten the reference to these other controls here. So I will inspect the element. So this is an input. It has a name, and it has an ID. So the ID here is login submit button. That's a great ID. I'm going to copy that whole thing, bring it back here into my Internet Explorer, or into my VBA. So there's that tag. I'm after this login right here. And I'm going to do this the same way that I referred to my other items. But this is the button. I don't submit the button. I'm not trying to change the value. Well, actually, this is kind of interesting. Watch what happens if we do change the value. Change the value to enter. So I've referred to this, I've referred to that button, and I'm changing the value. Watch what happens to this button when I run this line. It just changes what's on the face of the button. That's not what I'm trying to do. What am I trying to do? I'm trying to click it. So there's a method called click. So I'm going to come back here, and I'm going to run these first two lines again. I should put in my username and my password. And now I'm going to click the button. And you'll see it'll go to a page that almost looks just like this, but you'll see it gets rid of the username and password because it's tried to authenticate and failed. And so either finding the form and submitting it, or finding the button and clicking it, in this case, either one works. Sometimes, if the form isn't configured to do a submit on its own, you have to click the button. It's the only thing you can do. So it's good to know the two ways to be able to send that information over, because one way might be easier and one way might be the only way that you can do it. Questions here? Okay, let's do a little in-class exercise, and this involves now the other link from Learning Suite. So let's just take a look at this link here for a minute. So this is the Chicago Food Establishment Inspection data. So this is some data that I got from the city of Chicago and published through this webpage a couple of years ago. But you can come here and say, I'm looking just in January of 2016, I want to find any inspection violation that contains the term mouse. And I'll submit that. And so now it's brought back, it says, okay, there's a restaurant called Big and Little's. It's over here in Chicago on New Orleans Street. And on the 11th of January 2016, they had a failed inspection. By the way, the inspection was the result to a complaint that happened. And so it turns out, let's look for mouse, see what shows up here. So here's the report. Found evidence of mouse droppings, approximately 40 droppings on cluttered corners behind chest freezer in the suburb. Look for the next one. So here's some restaurant called CAI. Observed mouse droppings on the floor behind the bar. Another failed inspection approximately 3 mouse droppings. Well, that's kind of picky. 3, but I guess 1's too many, but still 3. Oh wait, 7 to 9 over here.
So I have a count.
What's that?
It's good they count.
They're counting them. Yeah, they probably have an app for that now, but back in 2006, they're probably actually counting tweezers and stuff. I don't know. So, okay. So now here's what I'd like you to do. I'd like you to do the same thing that we did, but now do it on this site. You're not putting in a username and a password, but you're just going to put in the word mouse. You're going to hit submit, and let's get to that location. By the way, before you go off and do this, I'm going to give you 4 minutes to do it. Let's start by copying this whole sub-procedure, because a lot of this is what we're after. Let's do one more thing before I send you off on that task. And that is right here. So as we're starting off, we are saying, hey, we want to open up a new copy of Internet Explorer. Well, what I'd really like to do is I'd like to say, listen, if there's one open, you just attach on to my most recently opened Internet Explorer. And if that succeeds, great, we're off and running. If it fails, that's when I'd like to open up a new one. Well, fortunately, the attach that we talked about briefly returns true or false. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to say if attach, i.e., actually, if not attach. So attach, i.e., returns false. That means it failed to attach. Then this whole expression will return true, and then that will run this line. I can do it all in one line. So if I can't attach, then bind IE onto a new Internet Explorer. So now if you've got one open already, it'll use it. Otherwise, it'll create a new one for you to work. Oh, one more thing before I have you do that exercise. What should we do if we're already logged in? Maybe had that happen. You logged in once, you ran it again, and you had a problem because you already logged in. Happened for a couple of you. All right, so what we'd like to do is we'd like to be able to say, all right, we're trying to go to this page, we're trying to go to directory, and it's taken me somewhere else. I want to be able to notice that I went somewhere else and go, aha, I must be trying to log in, and then log in. But if I go to the directory page, that means I'm already logged in. I'm ready to go, no reason to log in. So I'm going to navigate to this location, and then I'm going to check to see where I am. So I'm going to run this, put a breakpoint right to here, and I'll run this. Okay, so I'm logged in now. I should be able to say IE.visible. Yep, okay, so I hooked on to IE. IE.document. Now, document has a location property. And that will tell me the URL the document's currently showing. Now, I told it to go to lds.org/directory. Where did it take me? ident.lds.org. It take me somewhere to log in. And so what I'd like to do is, after I go to lds.org.directory, I want to see if it routed me to the ident page. If so, what does that mean? It's trying to log in. I better log in. Let me see how many characters that is first. 21 characters. So I'm going to say, after I've waited for that to load, I'm going to say if the length of my document's location, actually, sorry, if the left of my location, 21 characters, is equal to that, then I've got a login. Then do all this login business. Otherwise, no need to because I'm already there. So we're trying to go to the directory. After we wait for it, we're actually at the identity page. We better log in. And so by the time we get here, now we are logged in. We can get the name. Okay. So it turns out I had a bunch of students in my last class use my credentials to try to log in, and I'm locked out of my account. So I can't show this to you to work. But someone that experienced the problem, let's see if you can actually log in and just report to us that code is working. tries to do a second login, and you're already logged in, it will just take you to that page. And you're ready to go. That worked okay?
Yep.
Okay, good. So the whole idea here is that we're checking to see where we are. If we need to log in, do we have to do to log in? Otherwise, we're ready to get the data. All right, so now we're ready to copy this.
So did you do an end-if on the first diff?
Oh yeah, that's a good question.
Do we need one?
Do I have an end-if here? What's the answer? Do I need an end-if? No, why not?
Single line.
It's only one line. So I can do, if the whole thing is one line. If I was only one statement I want to execute conditionally, I put it after the then. In that case, I don't say end if, and I can't have an else clause. It's just one statement executing condition. We could put it down in the next line and put an end if, that would be fine too. Because I've only got a few lines to work with and try to make it a little more condensed. Yep.
Do we have to enable the Microsoft Internet Controls reference every single time we open Excel VBA?
The question is, how often do you have to say tools, references, and go find that reference? And the answer is, anytime you're making a new project that needs to have reference to this object. So if you close Internet Explorer, if you close Excel, open this workbook again, the reference is already there, you have everything you need. But if you're making a new project, you want to do this in a new project, you'll have to set the reference in. If you email this workbook to a buddy and they put it on their machine, the reference is already part of the workbook and we'll go, okay, I know what to do. All right, so I think I've made a copy of this. I'm going to change the name to be Get Chicago Data. And we're going to take just a couple of minutes to, actually we'll take 4 minutes for an in-class exercise to see if you can get to this part of the page. Open up the page. Take us to fillinmouse.com and click the submit button. So I'll set a timer and you guys let it go. Yeah, the link is on today's date in Learning Suite. It's probably more than we really need. If you have a question while you're working on this, let me know, and I'll come around and give you a hand. All right, well, I just talked through this, all you folks online, so here's the solution. Pause and take a look. Okay. So one more thing I'd like to do is actually get at the data. So if I look at the data that I'm after, let's suppose that what I'm trying to pull is I'm trying to pull these names. I want to see the business names. I want to say, you know what, these are the list of all the people that had filings that involved the word mouse. I want to see Big and Littles. I want to see CAI. I want to see Gertie's Ice Cream Incorporated. And so I'd like to be able to say, how am I going to get to this? So I'm going to inspect this. We'll take a look at this. Oh, here I am over in, accidentally over here in Chrome. This will be okay for us. So as I look at this, I'm saying, wow, this is in an H3 tag. It's in a level 3 tag. But there's no ID. There's no name. How am I going to find it? And this is where another procedure that I've written for you in Mod IE Tools is going to come in handy. Remember that we can refer to elements in the all collection, the collection of all the tags, either by their name, their ID, or their
Index.
number. So another approach is for us to just kind of scan through this whole document until we find a tag that meets the requirements we've specified, and then we can say, oh, that's the number for that one, and use that number to refer to it. So let's just take a look at the code for that. Actually, we've got just a couple more minutes. I'll leave the examination of the code to you if you like. I'm going to show you how to use it. So I've waited for the IE here. Now we're going to go ahead and get the data. I'm going to declare for myself another variable. I'm going to call it tag number, tag no, as a long integer. And then I'm going to say tag number equals get tag number. It's not called get tag number. Let's look at it after all. View my Project Explorer.
That's right. Yeah, it populated that.
Did it populate now? Get tag number. I wonder why it's not showing me in IntelliSense. Oh, because I need the parentheses. Get tag number. I'm going to tell it the Internet Explorer I'm working with, i.e. the tag name I'm looking for is a level 3 heading, so H3. Now, if I'm looking for a particular H3, there might be something else about that tag that lets me figure it out. It might have some property in it, like a class attribute, or it might have some other kind of attribute that will help me know which one I'm talking about. But the truth is, the only thing this page uses H3 for is for the names of these companies. So I don't have to tell it anything else. This should be able to find that tag number. We'll look at some of the properties here in just a minute. That should find the first H3 tag. I'll run that line. Let me just see what my tag number is. 176. So I found that at number 176. So I should be able to say IE.document .all tag number, and I want the inner HTML. Inner HTML. And so that has gotten me the inner HTML of that particular tag. All right, now I just need a loop that's going to allow me to go through all of these. So I'm going to do and loop. Let me start my first tag number off at 0. You'll see why in just a second. Tag number equals 0. Because now what I can do is I'm going to say I want to find that tag number, but start at, don't start at 0, start at whatever the last tag number was, or one past the last tag number. So now it's going to start looking for the next H3 after a particular tag number. Once I get that, I'm going to do a debug.print of that. And once get tag number can't find another tag that I've described, it's going to return -1. Instead of returning the index where it is, it's going to return -1. So I'm going to say if tag no equals -1, then exit 0. So now I'm going to come back to the top of my loop. Actually, I'm going to go where I'm setting tag number to 0. And I'll just step through this. It should print big and littles. As I keep going, it should print the next one, and the next one. So if I run that through, it should just print off the names of those. And so I've started to see how am I going to be able to look through this document for the information that I need, and then be able to pull it. Okay, that'll be a good place to stop for today, and we'll pick this up next time we get together.